Hi, creative friends. This is Freya, and thank you so much for being here. So before we dive right in, I did allow everything to completely dry. I'm going to bring this up closer just so you can see some of the beautiful color fields. Like, just look at this beautiful paint quality. Now I'm going to bring this up very close because I want you to kind of see this in an abstract way. So when we look at this, you know, it does look a bit disjointed, and that's okay. But if we look at it in an abstract way, so I'm going to bring this up super, super close. Like, can you see the paint quality? Can you see how beautiful these textures and values and irregularities? Like, I'm not looking at that, you know, over here as lips. I'm not looking at this as eyes. I'm just looking at the very beautiful paint quality. So, you know, just the interest, the variation, the values. And I took a class a long time ago, and the teacher talked a lot about paint quality. And I don't see a lot of people talking about that. Like when I watch art videos, I haven't really picked up on that. But the way she explained it, and she was a great teacher. Now this was like a long time ago, and I was very, very fortunate to have her. But she talked about paint quality, and what she meant by that, because she went in depth about it, is when you isolate parts of your painting, like this is true whether you're doing a portrait, a still life, a landscape, it doesn't matter, an abstract. But when you isolate parts of your spread, you want to look at the paint. Like, does it pull you in? Is it interesting? And try to get away from the word beautiful, because first of all, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but try to go for interesting. Try to go for curiosity. Try to go for, does it pull you in? Does it you know, make you want to look at it longer? Does it inspire you, etc., etc.? But what it means, paint quality, is when you look at parts of your spread in an abstract way, does it hold you? Does it pull you into the painting? Does it make you want to stand there and look at it for a longer period of time? It doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to catch you. And I really am loving so much of what is going on here. Now, like I said, when I look at this spread, I'm not, you know, really digging the image, okay? But when I isolate parts of it and I look at the paint quality, there's a lot about it that is really holding me. And that is what I'm going for. I'm going for the juice. So anyways, before I dive right into here, I just wanted to show you a couple of other things here. So I have been working on this spread over here, and I'm really loving this so, so much. She is taking on such a sculptural kind of a feeling, and I'm going to bring this up closer as well so you can kind of just look at the paint quality, you know, just isolate parts of it. And it's really holding me, pulling me in. And another one that I'm really loving is this one over here. Oh my goodness. Like, she is just so compelling to me. I could probably even just leave her like this and I would be happy with it, even though she's just, you know, about maybe 40-50% done. But there is so much about this portrait that I am in love with. But anyways, let's just dive right in. Oh, and this one over here too. So I've been working on this one a little bit, and I need to put more of my darker values in, but I'm really liking the direction of this as well. So anyways, let's just dive right into this. Oh, another thing before I forget, I talked about this over here, like looking at your face as a sculpture. And in my last video, I said, you know, you can go online, and I should have expanded on that. I did not mean you should go online to purchase one of these. That's not what I meant. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's totally fine. I purchased this from a museum store. I think it was in Firenze. I think it's from the Uffizi Museum, actually. But my point is that I should have gone more into detail about what I meant. I meant you can go online and you can punch in sculptures. You can punch in sculpture's face. sculpture face in shadows. I mean, you can go onto YouTube, you can go onto TikTok, you can go into Google, you can even go to books where they have a lot of sculptures that are photographed partly in shadow, because when you take photographs of a sculpture, it is really advantageous to take part of the sculpture in shadow because it throws everything into relief. And when you look at these images, you are going to be able to better determine the planes of the face when you look at sculptures. So that's what I meant to say. I didn't mean to say you should go and purchase one of these, unless of course you want to, but that's not what I meant. Anyways, I'm sorry for that big long song and dance, you guys. I haven't even got into the spread yet. But what I am going to do now is, because I did talk about how I am building up the face like a sculpture. So what I am going to do is I'm just taking some of my dictionary pages and I am going to kind of build up parts of the face that I think I want to pull forward. So it's going to be the bridge of the nose over here, the part underneath the eye, the bottom part of the eye there. So even though, excuse me, even though I do have collage already on the page, it's okay. I don't think I'm going to cover up like all of it, but I am like, see? So I'm looking at it as like sculpture. So I'm actually putting part of the dictionary page, my collage, I'm putting it over the eyeball, the, you know, the round part of the eye there. I'm actually putting it over top. And so this is what I mean when I'm looking at my face as a sculpture. And see, I'm kind of like, so I'm going to show you what I mean here. So do you see how there is the, you know, the round part, like the eyeball right there? And what I'm doing is I am actually placing, and it doesn't matter if I put it upside down. I want it to be placed properly. So I don't care about if the text is upside down. But what I'm doing is I'm actually covering up that little bit of the lower part of that round eyeball, because when you look at your eye, you're not going to see a circle because you have your you know, your like I don't know what that's called actually, but just say you're going to put eyeliner in the lower, like your eye rim, I guess. That part is going to cover that eyeball, that little bottom part. So I'm covering it with my collage. So I hope I'm explaining things correctly, you guys, like clearly. Because sometimes when I'm doing something, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing, but I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, like clearly, I guess. So now I'm gonna like put it on the bridge of the nose there. And I don't want it to go in the eye socket. I just want it to stay on the bridge of the nose. And I'm also now going to start putting it, like I'm going to build up my brow bone. Okay, now over here, so I think the eyebrows are actually placed too high in this particular portrait. So the eyebrows need to move a bit down. So what I'm going to do is okay, and so I'm like like I was saying, if you look at the sculpture of a head, you're going to be able to see the bones more, like the brow bone, etc. And it just helps you with figuring out the planes of the face. I mean, you can always use your own face and run your fingers, but like I said, it's just more exaggerated on a sculpture, so it just makes it easier for us to see. So I'm just building up like parts of the face that I want to pull forward. Another part I want to pull forward is this part of the forehead over here. So I'm going to put my dictionary pages and those portraits that I showed you at the start of this video that I'm really digging. Like this is exactly how I built them up, with my dark values for the push parts and my collage for the pull parts. And it's like a really cool way of working, honestly. I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm not finding it to be tedious, or it's teaching me a lot about the way the planes of the face are. I'm just really digging the whole process. Okay, so now I'm gonna keep that, and I think over here I'm just gonna add a little bit of collage. I don't want to add too much. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to add a little bit of my blue into the parts that I want to kind of like push back. And I don't want it to be a solid color field. Like I want it to be different colors, different values. I want it to be varied. You know, I don't want it to just be like a solid block of blue. That's not what I'm going for. And so I will put a little bit of the blue. I'll put a little bit of, you know, maybe my really dark Payne's gray. So what I've been doing is I have been, like, remember when I talked about the bigger shapes and then smaller shapes inside of the bigger shapes? So this blue that I laid down is a bigger shape, and then I'm going to use my Payne's gray for a little bit of a smaller shape inside of that bigger shape. So see, just like that. And there's going to be a lot of, you know, like adjusting. It's not like this is set in stone, but I am just kind of, you know, making those luscious color feels that I showed you about, that I talked about at the start of this video. Now, I do want to add a little bit more of my tea bags here, I think. I'm not sure. Like, I do have tea bags on there, but let me see here, because the eyebrows are too far up, so I think the eyebrows need to kind of come about here. So that means that the hairline is also going to, you know, is going to be moved down. And you know what, you guys, like, this is just my personal opinion and the way I work, is if you need to move things around, it's totally okay. I did a short the other day, I think it was like a couple of days ago, where I was halfway through the, you know, building up the portrait, and then I just looked at it and I said, you know what, I think these eyes need to go a bit further down. And then I just moved the eyes completely. And I really love the way it turned out. But halfway through the, me doing, you know, it was a warm-up exercise, but halfway through me doing it, I was like, no, the eyes need to be moved down a bit. This just doesn't feel right. And it's okay. I don't know if you can catch it in the short because, you know, the time-lapse things move so fast, but that's exactly what happened. Is I moved, and you can, like, I get out my Stabilo and I redraw the eyes and I just build it up. And interesting things can happen when you do that. You know, you just never know what's going to happen. So, you know, if you need to move things around, then you need to move things around. Everything has to be sacrificed for the final image. And that includes our ego. You know, because sometimes we're like, oh, I spent so much time doing this, and you know, and even though you know, I put my eyes too far up, and it's like it just wasn't right. So, you know, you just have to go, okay, well, I need to move it down. And yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. And I have no qualms about moving things. And I think I want to put like another little bit of the tea bag right there. Now this is going to be so juicy, you guys. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of my burnt sienna, like right there. So, you guys, I know that working like this is not for everybody. It is, you know, I don't know how many of this series there are, honestly, but I am learning so much from working in this way. It's kind of crazy. And when I go back to working in my Healing Ancestral Trauma journal, or, you know, any of my other journals or whatever I'm doing, projects, everything that I learned